All right, good morning, friends. Today I'm going to be making for you the Snowflake Purse. It will come in both a 5x7 version and a 6x10 version. When you are cutting fabric for the 5x7 version, cut your fabric at least 6x8, and when you are cutting fabric for the 6x10 version, cut your fabric at least 7x11. So let's get started. I will hoop up my 6x10 hoop and take it to the machine and run the first step, and I'll be right back and show you. Okay, I have run the first step, and it's a little dark. Let's see if I can make it a little lighter. You can see that, of course, the exterior outline of the bag has been done, and at the same time the area to place the zipper. So let me turn to this orientation, and I'm going to take the zipper and I'm going to center it right in between these two lines. The coil of your zipper should be centered between these two lines. And for the 6x10 version, if you have a 1-inch wide zipper, which most number 3 zippers are, 1-inch wide, which is what I recommend, a nylon number 3 zipper. If you're doing the 6x10 version, if you just center the zipper, just put the zipper over these lines, with this being the top here, the top of the bag, and this line here, if you put your zipper right there, it should fit perfectly if it's 1 inch wide, and so it will be ready to be taped down. If you are doing the 5x7 version, just use this center line to center or these two lines here to center your zipper, because the space unfortunately is not as wide. It's not 1 inch wide, the area here for the zipper. So just center the coil of your zipper between these two lines. So let me tape this zipper down and I'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, I have taped the zipper down top, bottom, and there's actually a piece right here on this side, though it's hard to see, unfortunately. So I'm going to take the hoop to the machine and run step 2, which will sew the zipper down. So I'll be right back. Alrighty, you can see that the zipper has been sewn down, and what I'm going to do now is take the hoop and turn it over to the back side, grab one of the first of the two lining pieces, which is going to be this blue fabric, and I'm going to turn it right side down, so I'm looking at the back of it, and I'm going to place it right, okay, you see there are 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to place the edge of the fabric right along this line right here, because the stitching will actually occur where this line is the second line in. So just make sure you've got it fitted well enough where they'll be it'll be over over that one particular line, and I've cut that crooked, so let me use the other side. So let me make sure on both sides it's within. Yes, it is. Okay, it's fine on the sides and right here at the edge of this last line down, which is where you should have it lined up with. And let me tape it down on the sides. Okay. Alrighty, now let me just pick it up by this, well, it's hard with one hand, but let it roll over, let this piece of lining just roll over to the front side of the hoop. Let me grab a piece of tape while I can, and just take and fold this once or twice or whatever, just to get it out of the way. We're going to put a tape right here, piece of tape right here to hold it down, because we won't be using the lining fabric for 4 or 5 steps. So now it's out of the way, which is where it should be. Okay, I'm going to take my first piece of the main fabric, which is this pretty poinsettia design, and I'm going to place it, now that I can see the zipper, I'm going to place it right at the edge of the zipper right here. Make sure on both sides it's covered, and yes, it is covered. So let me tape it down. I'm going to tape it in the middle too. Alrighty. Okay. Now I'm going to take the hoop to the machine, and it's going to sew as I was showing you right here on what was the second line up from this bottom line here. So it'll sew about 1/4 of an inch in and tack down the front and back pieces. So I'll be back with you in just a few minutes, or just a few moments. All right, I'm back, and you can see that it has stitched here just fine along the front, and always turn it over to make sure that it's worked out well on the back. Yes, it's fine, because I have had many times, or several times, where something has come loose and it has not caught the entire backside. So in this case, it's fine. But I've learned to check that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our this is a 7 by 11, and I've cut everything. No, I'm sorry. This is a 6 by 10, and I've cut everything 7 by 11. However, this one of the two pieces of whatever you're using for batting, and I'm using this material here, which is kind of thick. It's kind of like foam. Bought it at Joann's on the clearance at like $3 a yard. But take it, and it should be actually 1 inch less. So instead of being 7 by 11, it should be 11 inches wide, but only 6 inches here this way instead of 7 by 11. But the other piece of batting should be 7 by 11. We're going to take this piece and put it about 1/4 of an inch under the stitch line here. You see the stitch line. I've got it, and otherwise it would be hanging out over here, possibly into the area where the connection is, and that wouldn't be good. So anyhow, now that you've done that, you've placed that. And if you're doing the 5 by 7, you would cut it, it'd still need to be 7 inches wide, but it would need to be maybe a 4 by 7 piece of lining, or not lining, but batting fabric. But you would do the same thing we're doing, 5 by 7 or 6 by 10, regardless of which size you're making. So take and fold down your main fabric, smooth it down, and I'm going to take it to the machine. The next step will be for it to run a stitch all the way around the 4 sides of the front of the design, the purse here, the purse design. But first I'm going to stop at the iron and pull that out. I'll cut that off in a minute. First I'm going to stop at the iron, and I'm going to just iron it very quickly to put a nice crease. I personally like a nice crease against right here where this comes close to the zipper. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to run the next, what I was describing would be the next step. So I'll be back in a minute. All right, the next step, you can see now that this has been sewn down on all sides, and the next step then will be to run the placement stitch for the applique piece, which will be the circular piece in the center where the snowflake will go. So let me run and do that, and I'll be right back. All right, you can see now that there has been the circle for the placement of the fabric or vinyl, whatever you're going to use, that where the snowflake will go. I'm going to use a piece of red vinyl that matches fairly well with the red in the poinsettia, not perfectly. But this, I'm doing the 6 by 10 version, obviously. This is 4 inches across, so you would need at least a 5-inch piece of, I did a 5-inch square of this vinyl, and I'm going to place it over the lines here, making sure that I've covered all the lines on top and bottom. And yes, I have. If you're doing the 5 by 7, that circle is about 3 inches in diameter, And so you would need to use, well, I would just, I have a 5-inch block here that I got from Martelli Notions in Pensacola, Florida. They come in all sizes. So I just had that handy, and when I do the smaller bag, I just cut it 5 inches. It just makes it quick and easy. So if you would just make this at least 5 inches, especially for the 6x10 version, it should be fine. So I've covered that up. It looks like it's fine on all sides, and I'm going to take and run the tack down. So hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, I've run the tack down of the piece of vinyl, and I'm going to take it right now and trim very close to the stitches. And after I do that, I'll show you with it after I trim it. But the next thing after this will be the satin stitches themselves, and that'll take a little bit of time, probably 5-10 minutes. Anyhow, I'll be right back after I trim this. Okay, you can see I've trimmed it very close, which is what you need to do whether you're making the 5x7 or 6x10. And so I've done that, and I'm going to take this to the machine and do the satin stitches, which will cover up these edges, raw edges. So I'll be right back. All right, I have run the satin stitches. I think it looks quite beautiful. Now I'm going to take it back to the machine and run the snowflake design itself, and I'll be back momentarily. Okay, I'm back, and you can see the snowflake has been stitched out. I think it looks just fine. Very nice. The next thing we'll do is we're finally going to let this piece of lining fabric go back to the back where it belongs. So just remove the tape and let the lining fall back to the back. And I usually try to take off these when I remember, that is, which is not that often. Take off these pieces on the side, at least of tape. But if you forget, it's no big deal, because I forget half the time too. I don't bother with this little piece here. It's there some, oh, maybe I didn't even put one. No, I didn't even put one this time. Okay, fold this down, smooth it down as good as you can, and then tape it on both sides like this. And take it to the machine, and the next step that will be run is the same step that ran earlier, where it went around right under the zipper here around all four sides. So take it in and do that, and that'll stitch down this back piece of lining where it's secure, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and I've run this last round or step, ran this and secured this back piece of lining, so it's now held where it should be. So turn it back to the front, go up here and remove this little piece of tape that held the zipper down earlier, and open your zipper. And this is always a challenge with one hand. Let's see if I've always been able to do it. Oh, I'm going to be able to do it again. That's a personal, okay. That's my achievement for the day, is opening one-handed a zipper. So that's there. And then I'm going to put on my little, these are my little attachments that you would use if you want to add straps. I've got two of these. For this, the 5x7 will have only one, which I would put about like this right here, or you could put it on the opposite side, it doesn't matter, and tape it right here where this finger's moving, and then tape this piece of metal down also to keep it from getting somehow up here in the stitch line. But the metal piece, it should be facing inwards, but it will, when we turn the bag out, it will be in the right position. Now this is the 6x10 I'm doing, so I'm going to take two of these, and what these are is the same leather or vinyl. I've cut this 3 inches long and 3/4 inches wide, and actually I think this was longer. Cut it at least 3 inches long and 3/4 inches wide, and I try to place it about an inch inside each from the edge of the outer stitch line. I try to place it about an inch inside, and I'm going to place that there, and this is long enough. I'm going to just let it rest up against the edge of the hoop, and the stitching is going to be about where my finger is. It's going to be about, well, it's going to be between this line here of stitching and the edge of the zipper itself. So go ahead, and I'm going to not try to do that here with you watching because it's kind of a pain to do, but I'll be back in 1 second, show you what I've done. All right, as you can see, I have taped it down at the top here, and then I've also put a piece of tape over the metal piece so it doesn't get into the stitch. I've had that happen. I didn't believe it. People told me always to do that, and I said, oh, it doesn't matter. And then one day, somehow, this piece of metal got all the way up here, and I went through it or over it. And anyhow, thankfully, it didn't end in a disaster, but it had all the potential to. So the next thing we're going to do after we have those attached, we're going to take our back piece of main fabric, which is the same as the front, turn it face right side down, and take and cover the design entirely. Just cover what's already there, and make sure that you've got at least a 1/4 inch over the zipper. So we've got plenty, with having been generous in cutting, there's plenty of fabric to cover this. And then take your other piece of 7 by 11 batting and place it directly over the first piece, or the piece of, see, you got to be careful because it will get turned wrong somehow, but make sure it's fine. I'll check it when I turn the camera off, when I can use both hands. But and then take that to the machine, and it's going to close the bag up. It'll run all the way across right here, the top of the zipper, basically down the side, along the bottom, and up this other side. So go and do that, and meet me back. There's one more step as far as sewing. Okay, I have run the step, I think it was 10, and it has enclosed the bag. It has sewn around, excuse me, sorry, it has sewn around all 4 sides. And now the very last thing, the very last step, number 11, is to turn the hoop over and take your last piece of lining fabric and place it face down, and make sure that you cover at least a 1/4 inch above this last exterior line here. So let's take it and, all right, let's make sure, oh yes, it's way above that. It's below the bottom stitch line, and what's going to happen is it's going to stitch around the top again, the sides, but it's going to leave an area here at the bottom about almost the entire length. I like to have a big area to put my hand, which is, I have not a large hand for a man, but it's might be larger than women's hands, I don't know. So it's going to leave this area here to turn like that. It's going to, so I can reach in, or you can reach in. So let me go and run this last step, and I'll be right back. Okay, one other thing. Apparently I thought magically it was going to hold itself to the bottom of the hoop, the back of the hoop, so I'm getting goofy. Tape it down on all 4 corners like I'm doing. That's not the first time I've done that. Unfortunately, started to take it to the machine and not have it taped down. I don't know. Anyhow. All right, now it's taped down. It should be fine, so let me go to the machine now. Okay, I'm back, and the back really doesn't show anything different from the last time. It just went around again. But when we turn it to the back side, you'll see that it has run the 3 sides, but it has left me an opening to turn the bag. And so now what I'm going to do, the sewing is over. I'm going to remove the purse from the hoop, and I'm going to trim starting where the stitching starts right here, all the way around, over the top, down the side, and ending at the same location where the stitching ends on this side. I'm going to at least allow a 1/4 inch of excess, so just stay at least a 1/4 inch away from the stitch line, and you should be fine. And just don't bother this down here. We're going to do something a little different with it, and I'll show you when we get back. All right, you can see I have trimmed all around, and then at the bottom of the bag we have, I left it alone except for I came in about where the stitching stopped from the last round, round 11 or step 11, and so I tried to cut it at an angle like my fingers going on each side. Over here I didn't make it, I just cut it straight down, but over here I did cut it at an angle because I just can't remember sometimes. So anyhow, what we're going to do now is we're going to take these two pieces of lining, you see the stitch line right here, fold them back, and then take your scissors, and everything here that's left over is junk. It can be thrown away. So fold these two pieces back, and then cut right about where my finger is, which is about a 1/4 inch away from the stitch line, which of course you see right there. So do that, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I have done that. It's all been removed and thrown away. So next thing you're going to do is take and turn the purse out. So I can't do this with one hand, but I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to turn the purse through here, out through here. So hold on. Okay, I have turned the purse out, and now you should be looking at your lining fabric on both sides. So the next thing you do is, we have two pieces of lining. One is always shorter than the other. Take the shortest part and just fold it in and take it to the iron. I always do this at the ironing board. I give that a quick press, run the iron over it a time or two, and then take your other piece and fold it in, and okay, work with it and make it nice and straight here, and make them come together as well as you can, and then iron them down where they'll stay in place, because you're going to go to the sewing machine and you need to sew a line of stitches from where my middle finger is all the way over to here, just between these the area here where it's open. So do that, and I'll meet you back here in a moment. Alright, I'm back, and I have sewn a line of stitches across here. So the bottom is all closed up. The last thing not the last, second to last thing, we need to remove this, whatever kind of stabilizer you've used, remove it either by scissors or by some kind of knife or something. Remove this from the zipper, and since mine is made of paper towels, it comes up easily, and I'll do that off screen or off camera, and I'll meet you back here in just a moment. Okay, I have done that. I've trimmed it. And also, by the way, as you know, when you're sewing, you've always got a lot of little hanging threads here and there, and I went around and I tried to cut those off the best I could, get those so they're not unsightly. So now I'm going to put the camera down again. I'm going to open my zipper back a little bit more, reach in and open it back, and turn the bag out through the zipper. And I'll do that, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. All right. I have completed, the purse is now complete. I removed all of that from the zipper area and shut the zipper. You can see the nice ornament, snowflake in the center. Pretty back. I just left it. I have a back for the 5x7 and 6x10 that is just simple stippling. That is available if you would want that, but I don't know. I just like it normal, natural. And anyhow, that's it. I think I've told you all I need to. I'm sure I'll remember something as soon as I turn the camera off. But anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed watching me make this, and hope if you purchase it, you'll make something beautiful for yourself or your loved ones, family and friends. And I appreciate you staying with me and supporting me. And I think of all of you as friends. I haven't met you and probably never will, but I think of you as friends. So thank you so much. Hope you're having a great weekend, and I'll see you hopefully soon with another video and another design, and you have a great day. Bye-bye.